See, I don't even want. I need to figure out something different.
So switch it up, make it different. Just come up with something right now.
Make something new today.
Welcome to podcast number 20. Wow, we've done 20 podcasts since the beginning of Guild Wars 2 release. That's kind of amazing, actually, if you think about it. We're still here. We're still kicking, and we got some new content to talk about today. Just so you know, we are live every Monday, 5:15 p.m. Eastern, and it's usually a pre-show for about a couple minutes, and then we go into our podcast. And then on Wednesdays, we push that video to YouTube. You can go to alttabme.com and watch it live, or you can go there on Wednesday and see the YouTube video. So, today we're going to talk about the new content that Guild Wars 2 released this weekend with some special events. It was called The Lost Shores. The Lost Shores. The Lost Shores, which, by the way, didn't seem very lost when we got there. But regardless, let's go around the room here and see what everybody's first impressions were. John, we haven't seen you for a while. What was your first impression of The Lost Shores?
Turn off your phone. Yeah, it was pretty cool. I don't know about the actual events. They still need to work on when they implement large events like that in terms of their performance and the servers and stuff. Obviously, you can't help that completely, but overall, I'd say it was a pretty nice event, and there's a lot of new items in the game, so I don't know about, and a new dungeon, so it's got a bunch of new things in there that look pretty cool.
Yeah, when the event first popped, I was there. It was Friday. This is weird to me, by the way. Guild Wars 2 did this with Guild Wars 1 as well, apparently. ArenaNet did this with Guild Wars 1. Their main times for launch events is at 12 Pacific time. And it just seemed weird to me that they did it on a Friday to kick off the event. Because, I don't know, most people work on Fridays. It would make more sense if they would have kicked it off on Saturday, IMO. But in retrospect, the first part of the event was not necessarily something that would have been direly missed because it just basically kicked off the event. I will say this, though, and I hope Guild Wars 2 is listening. Can you please limit the amount of people that can be in an overflow server for these events? Please. Because when an event kicks off and you're really into it and you have these cool cutscenes, they had the Karka, which are these new monsters jumping out of the water and invading, and it's, you're all amped up and you're like, all right, cool, let's fight them. And you're clicking your buttons and nothing's happening because the lag is horrendous to the point of, FPS drop, the game actually lagging itself where, your skills aren't working. That makes the event a little less fun. I don't know, I mean, do you guys like lag?
Yeah, definitely. No, not at all.
No.
And it seems like they have the overflow system down, so it shouldn't be a problem for them to just create more overflow servers and just, decrease the limit on the or the cap rather on the servers. So it's a little bit more spread out when there's stuff like that.
Yeah. This coming from all of us who are very good at programming servers for Guild Wars 2 because we know all about this.
I'm sure they would probably need more hardware or whatever to have more overflow servers, but the fact that they've got the whole overflow server thing in place to reduce the lag and the amount of people that are in one spot so you can actually get in and play and all that, they've got the thing in place. They just need to spread it out more, like you said, reduce the amount of people on it, because I've got a good connection and I've got a good computer that runs it just fine, and I wasn't rendering stuff on a lot of that. And we have some Australians in the guild that were they couldn't do anything. They were rubber banding all over the place because not only do they have maybe lesser computers, but they've also got the ping issues where they've got to connect to that server, and it's all the way across the world for them. So I think you're right. If they have less people on the overflow server during those big events and maybe implement a couple more overflow servers to take the extra hit, it would work out a lot better.
Something I'd also like to see.
I can tell you it was not fun.
It wasn't fun?
Playing it on a laptop. And I'm pretty much... Yeah, it wasn't fun. I couldn't do anything at all. And the things would show up after they died, so I wouldn't even be able to hit them.
Well, I think the main thing that we ran into as a guild was that we were all excited to get on, and a lot of people are waiting for patches or waiting for new content to log on, and so a lot of our guildies logged on, and we were all mumble, ready to battle and do some good. And the problem is that we all ended up in different overflow servers. So like there's no method other than having one person drop, one person join. Like, it's a really slow method to get someone to join your overflow server, that we just eventually said, fuck it. When this event is over, we'll go do the dungeon, or we'll go do the new zone together. But turns out that the new zone was also in overflow servers, and so half the time when we were doing these events, we were doing them alone, maybe one or two guildies with us, and we could never really get all of us together because the event kicks off. It's like, boom, event, go. And especially when you got to the new zone, the Lost Shores itself, like an NPC would kind of guide you through the zone. And unfortunately, it's hard to stop what you're doing because you want to see what happens to like get all your guildies together. And by the time all your guildies got there, you would have missed the event, and then everybody would be sad. So you end up with like people in your ears going, oh my god, you guys see the thing on the left? Oh my god, well, what zone are you in? I'm not near you. Well, who are you talking to? I don't know. And for like, 6 hours of crazy, like, oh my god. And then, you get guildies like going like, fuck this shit, and like rage quitting because they can't deal with it. So I actually did that at one point because everybody was talking so much. I was just like, I couldn't deal with it. I dropped down a channel. I was like, I need to be able to hear this and enjoy the content. So it would be nice if there was some sort of implementation at this point, especially in a game called Guild Wars, that we could do things as a guild. Maybe make that 100 gold commander book that we paid for allow us to make an actual party just for events.
I'd like to see some bigger parties than a 5-man party.
Yes.
For that exact reason.
Definitely.
Just even for exploration of the game. The 5-man parties, I get it. I understand it. You don't need to be in a party to be with someone. But you know what? When I'm like running that way and you look and you're like, oh, shiny over there, and you don't see me go there, there's no dot on your little mini map to know that I just ran 5,000 feet over there, and then you're spending too much time looking for each other, and it gets very frustrating.
Yeah, definitely. It would be nice to see some implementation of larger groups for whatever going around the world, and just general, I don't know, supportive guilds, because it is called Guild Wars. More fostering of gathering people as a large guild and doing things just besides World v. World, which is obviously a given, when you get everybody rolling in there. But that would be nice.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, especially after this is the second dynamic event that they've kicked off, Halloween being the first one. There's got to be a certain point where you realize that it's cool to put in these dynamic events, and we love them. They're really fun, and we had a blast doing it. But the smaller things that, for instance, make a game like World of Warcraft last so long is the intuitive part of it. The fact that if I want to play with John, and I want to play with Mike, and I want to play with Roasty, and then I want to play with 20 other of my guildies, I can. And there's an implementation for that. And I think that after this, we've gone through a couple of these events now, you kind of get the feeling that people are bitching about the same things. It's not that we're angry at the game. It's not that we're disliking the game. It's that we're getting frustrated because these are the things that we've been accustomed to having in games, and we feel as though they're necessities. And having bigger group sizes, I think, is one of those things that makes it feel better. I mean, unless you're playing DayZ and, going for like super sandbox, don't know who I am. Is that you? Oh, I'm sorry, I shot you in the face. Oh no. Unless you go for that kind of a game. But this is like, this is an MMO for, fantasy genre and grouping. So it would be nice to group. So that's my thought.
And, I think, sorry. ArenaNet has done a lot to make the whole MMO type game easier to play, easier to get in, just easier in general, and not giving us the larger groups actually takes a step back from that and makes it harder. It's one of the things that they could have brought over from basically every other MMO and maybe not used it for the same thing, but still had it there for us to use when we want, because as a guild, we want to play together with more than just 5 people. And I think that's pretty true for almost every guild that's not just a personal bank guild.
Well, so now, okay, so let's go back to the event itself. Let's talk about the event itself. I'm gonna talk about some of the stuff that I didn't like. So you guys talk about some of the stuff that you did like, because I don't want it to sound like I like the event, but obviously it's easier for me to talk about the things that crapped out on. So like the event kicks off, you've got this lag, it's crazy. You're like, okay, fine, whatever. We already talked about the lag. Lag's over. The event's done. We beat everything in a submission. Now what? So I'm sitting there, and this was just my personal experience, and I guess I'm not like John. John is like a fucking speed demon and can find things very quickly. I'm a little more retarded when it comes to games, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, well, where do I go now? So I ported back to the center of Lion's Arch, because I remember there being like a captain there or something. And so I went there, and I see stars, and I'm like, okay, cool. They've marked the NPCs that we should talk to. So I start talking to them. One guy gives me like a piece of a map that's all torn or something. Or no, nobody gave me anything in the beginning. Sorry. And you're talking to these NPCs, and if you talk to it and you don't read like really in deep text context, like you don't know where to go next. And it never actually like showed you where to go next. It just kind of was like, go talk to these guys. And so you talk to them, and then you talk to them again. You talk to him again, and you still are like, I don't know where I'm going. Where should I be going? And then, like, I found one guy by the trading post that was, selling stuff, and then I kind of understood. Like, they were like, let's give in items so that we can rebuild the Lion's Arch statue. I was like, oh, cool. This is like, this reminded me of what was that WoW instance where you had to build
AQ.
Yes. AQ. It was very similar to that in terms of, well, we thought it was very similar to that. It didn't actually have anything to do with the event itself, I don't think, yet. I think it was just to rebuild the statue, and it's a good sink for the economy. But the problem is that it didn't show you what your rewards were until you started making the turn-in badges. So I made like 5 of these badges. And I used some of my food and all this other shit that I didn't really need, but I was like, let me try it anyway. Sorry. And so I get there, and I go to turn in the badges, and it unlocks the vendor list, and I'm like, cool, stuff to buy. Yeah, I got a little angry because I made 5 of these badges, which I guess is better than what some people did, which is they made like 100 right off the bat, and they were like, okay, let me go talk to that guy. Yeah, he sells items that you can get for cheaper through karma, gold, or random drops. Like, there's nothing on that guy. There really isn't anything on that guy that you can't get via another means in the game that ultimately would cost you less. So I didn't quite see
Is that the guy that
point.
was...
He's standing right next to the
Is that
line.
the guy that was selling the tools and everything?
He sells the tools, but he also sells, which the tools aren't bad because it's a big stack of them, but he also sells basically all the Lion Guard stuff, which you can buy on the Karma vendor right down on the other side of town.
Yeah.
For, I believe, less Karma. It depends on what you put into the Mystic Forge to get those badges out. Like, I put some decent items in there, greens or whatever, but I think I have about 11 badges, and then I went over there and I'm like, well, what the hell is this? I mean, they're not even new skins or anything like that. It's just the Lion Guard stuff you can buy off the Karma vendor. I was like, wow, wasted my time pretty much, and my whatever I threw into the Mystic Forge.
Yeah, I pretty much gave up on that after I saw what the rewards were, because they were essentially the same stuff, and so that was frustrating. So I was like, okay, does this have anything to do with the actual event that's going on? Turns out, no, it doesn't have anything to do with the event. We need to mute because that's horrible. Everybody mute their mic. Sorry, we'll be right back. We're fixing a problem with the thing. All right. So, so it had nothing to do with that turn. Son of a bit. Really? You know, we haven't gotten this in the longest time.
Yeah.
It's because John's back.
It's apparently all my fault. I don't know why.
We've narrowed it down to you, my friend. We've narrowed it down. All right. Anyway, let's see if it stops. So we end up going to this vendor, and you know the items aren't so good, and it turns out that it has nothing to do with the actual event. So then I hear someone on Mumble be like, "You have to go down to the beach," and I'm like, "Why do I have to go down to the beach?" And he's like, "You got to go click on these things, this rubble that's been showing up on the beach." And I'm like, okay. In my head, that was like, okay, that makes sense. There's a lost shore. Maybe it pushed something on the sea. So I run down there, and there's like crowbars on the ground. And immediately I start thinking of Half-Life 2. So I guess that was like the coolest part for me. I was like, ooh, crowbars and fucking crab people? This is perfect. And you have to you have to click on these barrels and these crates, and you're holding the crowbar. But you're not actually using the crowbar. You're just holding it. And then if you click on the barrel, if it had the item, it had 2 prompts versus 1. I'm sorry, man. Like, I'm not stupid, but this was ridiculously difficult for me. I was like, I don't understand what is happening. Should I be hitting the barrel? Like, and I don't think I was the only one that went up to those barrels and was hitting number 1 on their crowbar. Like, what did you guys think of the barrel part?
I did it. I was doing the same thing.
Yeah, and the craziest thing for me was you had to do them in a specific order to get the right things done. So, and I didn't see anywhere where it told you which way to do it, and it was kind of a mess. I actually missed the starting thing because I just slept that day instead of getting up in the middle of my night. And well, you know what? I was up for the Halloween one, and it was a cutscene. And I'm like, really? That's what I had to be up for this epic thing that happens at noon? So I figured it'd be another cutscene or something. And I got into it later, so there was already hints and clues everywhere, like on websites and on Reddit on how to do the stuff. But
Cheater.
I tried it, and I was like, screw this. I'm going to go find the cheat sheets.
See, that's my thing, is that I feel like I get it. Guild Wars 2 is a very open world, and exploration is key, and they don't really, they don't force you to go anywhere. But a little bit of guidance that isn't in, like, cryptic text, you know what I mean? Like reading quest text where it's like, well, if the moon is aligned on the sunny day via the stars of Saturn and Mercury, the thing that rises from the ocean but isn't the ocean but is by the sand. I'm like, well, what the fuck are you talking about? Where should I be going? Like, this is beautiful. You wrote it really well. It didn't help me.
The lady you talked to start that quest told you to go to the beach, kind of like she said it plainly that you had to go there. And I don't know, I found it easy. Once I got the crowbar, I just went up the side of the beach, and I easily got the soggy bag or whatever without much problem. So, I don't know. It was easy for me.
No, I get it. At some people it's easy, some people it doesn't make sense.
No point whatsoever.
Well, and then, so that's the thing. So now you've got this soggy bag in your bag, right? And you're like, okay, I have a soggy bag. What now? I honestly don't know what I was supposed to do next. I just listened to someone that had done it, and they brought me to all the checkpoints that I had to go to. Because at that point, I was just like, I give up. I don't even know. I click on these vendors, and their stars didn't change. I didn't know I had to go turn it into that person. It doesn't actually turn it in. The soggy bag is still in my bag after the event has ended. I don't know what to do with this. Should I throw it away? Should I keep it? Is there more event? What's going on with this thing? You know, and then you get a pirate thing and another thing. I don't know.
Maps, yeah. It's weird because they don't. You use it for like one person. You take it from one person to another, and they don't take it from you. They don't explain to you like, oh, maybe you should hang on to that for something later or whatever. Like I was thinking like, oh, we got maps. Maybe we'll go find like a hidden cave or something and get a chest or whatever or something like that. But I still have all those things, and apparently they were only just for that section of like the investigation, the Google quest line that they had going on there, which is annoying because they don't tell you like, oh, the investigation's over, you don't need this stuff or whatever. So now you have all these trophies that you're not sure whether you should destroy them or kind of hold on to them in case they do something else with them or whatever. So that's always really annoying with their events.
There was a question about that on Reddit today, and I was reading it, and supposedly someone from ArenaNet said to keep them, but I'm not sure. That's what Reddit said.
See, but
Like
that's the
some
thing.
person on Reddit said something like that.
It's like we get Twitter updates and Facebook updates about in game. I'd like to see some updates in game for people that don't, have Twitter open on the left to see. Oh, that's why this isn't working. Look, they updated it on Twitter. I mean, it's like maybe implement Twitter feed into Guild Wars 2. I don't know. I mean, they use it so much. It's almost as if you should like implement it into the game at that point. I don't know.
Man, I hope they aren't supposed to keep those trophies because I got rid of them. I figured once those people didn't need them anymore, because usually they take them as turn-ins for any other quest, and otherwise it's just trash.
I don't know. I hope they don't keep them either, because I don't have enough space for them all. But that's what someone on Reddit said. So, but then you shouldn't trust Reddit most of the time.
So okay, this is the turn in weird fucking scavenger hunt part of the Lost Shores, which was it was a little, you know what I mean? Like, things were broken. You had to wait a while for them to fix it. Whatever, that's fine. Sometimes you don't know what's gonna break until you have a lot of people doing it. Totally understandable. But that part of it just felt a little weird. Like, it wasn't like you walked up to the dude with the soggy bag. He was like, "Yar, you have me soggy bag. Oh, let me blow on that with me non-soggy mouth. And here's a piece of..." I don't know. I can't talk in that voice. Wow, throat too dry. It's too dry. I have the heat on, like the radiator heat on, so I'm all like dry. But anyway, soggy bags aside, that part of the event was a little anticlimactic because you finished, and I still don't know if it like actually led to anything. Did you guys get anything for finishing it?
Yeah, it was just kind of story. The one thing they did well in it, though... Yeah. The one thing they did well in it, though, was about the second half of the scavenger hunt, after you turn the soggy bag in and then they send you outside of Lion's Arch, they send you mail, and in that mail has a button that says, show me. You click on the button, and it takes you to the map, and just like the scouts do, and it sent you over, moved your map, and it circled the spot you're supposed to be in, and then it circled the next spot you're supposed to be in. So even if you're just clicking through and you're not reading this stuff, the mail would show you where to go, because it would point it out on your maps. And I like that. That was, for those of us that are lost or just not paying attention, click on that button, go over there, you'll figure something out. It'll show you once you get close, I guess, But that worked. I don't know why they didn't do that at the start for the first half of the scavenger hunt. But once you needed to go to the 3 people, then the mail showed you where to go.
I think sometimes when you create your own thing, sometimes you have a tendency to believe that people will get it. And then you put it out there and you realize that we're all kind of dumber than you actually thought we were. So it does help to have those fallbacks like the mail. The mail definitely increased the ability to do that. And I think, what was it? I think you got a jug of karma when you finished.
A vial.
Yeah.
It was low amounts and 5 commendations. Holy cow.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, that is feedback from hell. Someone's mic is doing that. Did John just mute himself? Because it's gone.
Yeah, I did.
I did.
I blame John.
I muted myself too.
John, mute yourself again.
The Transformers are trying to communicate with us over our bandwidth.
Right.
Hmm.
That's really weird. Someone must have a double, audio stream that goes through here.
So weird.
I think I've got everything turned off.
Well, John and Miranda, if you hear it,
So
be
do
ready
I.
to mute it. Like now. And now. Alright. Sorry, we're having technical difficulties today. We're still having technical Are you guys both muted right now? Just nod if you're both muted.
No.
Mute your shit! Yep, that's you. I blame you, John. I
Yeah,
blame
I think
you
it's
today.
John.
All his fault.
You have that USB headset, or is that a different headset this time? Are you using
It's the
Bluetooth?
same headset I've always had.
Is it the Bluetooth headset?
Yeah, it's wireless. It's plugged in right now, though. It's charging.
That's weird. You broke it. I blame you. All right. Well, moving on. Oh shit! I just fucked up the. Hold on. Okay. We're good.
Yeah, so you were asking what you got from it. You got a vial of karma and 5 commendations so that you could go hold on to them forever and look at the skins that you don't want because you buy them with karma. Although, there is one thing on that those commendations buy that it's worth buying. It's the Mystic chest keys. Not the Mystic chest, the Black Lion chest keys. Because someone on Reddit found a way that if you make level 80 exotic amulets through jewel crafting with the candy corn, it comes out cheaper to turn those in for commendations, because if you do 3 of those amulets and the wrapping, you get 20,000 commendations, and that's about 4.5 to gold, 4.5 to 5 gold, depending on the market prices of the items. And when you turn those in and then turn around and buy 1 key for 285 commendations, it comes out to somewhere around 50 to 70 silver each, which is cheaper than buying them for gems. So if you're planning on stocking up on some keys and you want to do it the cheapest way possible, that's a way to do it. Or if you just want to get rid of the commendation badges you have, or you've got extra stuff to throw into Mystic Forge to get those badges, it's worthwhile to buy the Black Lion keys for the chests, and then when you're ready to use them, it's going to be cheaper than if you would have bought them for gems otherwise. But that's really the only thing on that guy that's worth spending commendations on.
Well, that makes sense, I guess. Still lame.
I think they should have done without it completely. They could have just put all that stuff on karma.
Yeah.
And you'd have the skins, and you'd still buy them. You'd still do the stuff for karma.
Well, Ultima Online a long time ago did a Clean Up Britannia thing. And the idea was that because you could place all your items on the ground in the game and put them in your houses and stuff, the game world got cluttered. And it would slow down the servers. And so what they did was they put trash cans all around. And if you put your items into these trash cans, it would give you points, and the more points you had, the more unique one of a kind item you could buy. An ethereal steed, something really cool, like a special dye, something like that would have been cool. Where you're cleaning up. Essentially, that's what they're doing. They're sinking the economy by you turning on all these things, and so I expected the rewards to be special, but they weren't. So that was a little weird. But anyway, let's talk about the actual event kicking off. So after we did the first phase was basically what we just talked about. The second phase was when we actually got to go to the Lost Shores, right? I think they attacked again on Lion's Arch. We had to defend against that attack, and then the boats popped up. Oh, we built trebuchets to defend. We built the trebuchet. Although the workers were drinking on the job, not acceptable. Not acceptable. All right, Lion's Arch workers.
We're sailors.
I wouldn't build a trebuchet drunk. That just seems weird to me. Doesn't seem like a good idea.
Don't fire them. Bad idea.
You're fired. All of you fired. So then you finish building the trebuchet, and the boats come up, and you can travel to the new Lost Shore. So you get to the Lost Shore, and you've got a commander. I forget what her name was, and she's like, "Follow me!" And this was the second disappointment to me. I'm not gonna lie, I really had high hopes for this because I was like, new zone, cool, new items, cool. It'll be somewhere to go. Now that the weekend is over, I feel as though I will never go back to the Lost Shore, ever. Like, there's no reason for me to go to the Lost Shore. I already forgot about the Lost Shore. The Lost Shore is lost in my head again. So, maybe that's why it was lost in the first place, because it's not actually that interesting.
That's what I was going to say.
So you get there, and
It
this
wasn't lost. People were just bored with it. They didn't go
right.
back.
That's why it was so easy to get there. When we got there, it wasn't as if it raised out of the ground or anything. It was like just an island that was just chilling there. It was chilling. It's like, all right, cool, cool. So you get there, and you have to follow your little guide essentially through the island and chop down trees, build roads, and retake. What was it? Retake camps and stuff like that.
Camps, yeah, camps.
So it's like,
Outposts.
cool. So let's go take some outposts. Let's do this. So you're following, and once again, it's the Zerg-like event where there's so many people there that you're really not doing any damage. You're just doing as much AoE as possible to see if you can get any drops, and you're watching the fun happen. It's not like it's a challenge. You're literally just sitting there spamming one and hoping for the best. And you're following the story at this point because that's what's interesting. And so you make it all the way through, and she basically walks you around the entire island. But when one event ended and another started, oh man, that's when you got lost. That was just like, you were on the Lost Shores lost. It was not good, man. You don't want to be lost in the Lost Shores. That's like double whammy. And so you get up, you're all lost, and then you're like, well, where's the next event? And if you got out of a certain range of her, it wouldn't show you. And so a lot of people got separated. People got messed up. They didn't know where to go. And so I made it through, I think, about 75% of what we were supposed to do. And then I fell into the situation where I didn't know which direction she went. And I lost her. And I was like, shit. And so then I ended up logging off because I was like, all right, well, that's okay. Well, that was the event. That's enough. I don't know. How about you guys? What was your experience like with Phase 2?
I had that same experience. I was doing the very start of it, and they were running up, and then I lost her. There was some other NPC dude that was doing an event, so I decided to start that, and it spawned like 5 of those Karkas and killed me. I was pretty dead.
And
You
then I
can't
died
solo
at the
those
end.
events.
Well, if you're not running with the
No,
Zerg
not
in
at
that
all.
zone, you're really gonna get killed. Those
Yeah.
bastards are not easy to kill. But they were very easy to kill when you're with the Zerg. So that's when... Okay, so anybody else have anything else to add about Phase 2, or shall we move on to Phase 3 where the game actually got good? All right,
Phase 3.
We'll move on to Phase 3 where shit actually got real. So Phase 3 was on Sunday, and holy shit, it was like a 3 or 4 hour event. It was intense, man. It was longer than a dungeon, doing 3 explorable wings. It was longer than that. It was crazy. So you're fighting veteran Karkas, champion Karkas, and their minions and their little spawns of Karkas and crab face
And the ancient one.
Karkas and Indian Karkas and all sorts of Karkas. It was just crazy. It was crazy. So many Karkas. And I wasn't there for the beginning. I got there like 20 minutes into it. So what was the beginning of it?
You had to
Well, the beginning-
escort
Go ahead.
the
Yeah.
people to the volcano and set explosives. But you were there, weren't you?
I didn't make it to the
He-
beginning part.
He showed up when they were finishing dropping off the explosives. Basically,
Oh.
there was a shield that showed up, I mean, right as the thing started, too. So if you had to come from Lion's Arch or anywhere else in the world, he was already halfway to the cave by the time you got there. And so the people with the explosives went up to the cave, and then they went down the spiral, and we fought our way down the spiral with all those like thousands and thousands of Karka in there, and so many people that you can't even see them. All you're doing is tab targeting and trying to hit stuff, and then all of a sudden, everybody around you is dead because 2 of the big veterans did a rollout, and you couldn't see it because they were still invisible because nothing's rendered yet. But lots of death, lots of rezzing, run down the spiral, and they stand there for a minute, and then they're like, oh, we got to go the other way now. And they go, you do the same thing going up the spiral, and, this is about an hour total of going down the spiral and up the spiral, And then they get done at the top of the spiral, and they're like, "Oh, now we got to go back down," and they leave the cave, and they run back from the cave to the camp that it started at, and then that guy disappears. It's like, okay, that's it. You planted explosive, nothing exploded. We all died about 40 times, and couldn't see people, couldn't see the bad guys, and
that was the only frustrating part about
then,
that event, was the fact that there were so many people and so many monsters that literally, I have a super fucking computer. Like, me and John both have computers that should absolutely be able to render max graphics on any game until 2014. Like, it's ridiculous, and things wouldn't render. I'm sorry, the webcam just did something weird to your eyebrows, John, where it made you look like you had none. It was really freaky. So you've got these like battles and these big monsters that can do roll attacks that literally boom, one shot. You don't see them. You don't know they're there. So you're like, oh, let's run up the hill. There's no one there. Holy shit, I'm in the middle of 4 champions. I'm dead. Shit.
Yeah.
And there's no real...
That's exactly what the ramp was.
The ramp was like,
But
should we run up or
the-
should we not run up? Like, are there going to be loading things or not loading things? I don't know. What were you going to say, Miranda?
The lag was better in Phase 3 at least.
Yes, they definitely
than the
alleviated
first
the lag.
2.
There was no game lag. There was only rendering issues at that point. So it was that I would rather deal with rendering issues than lag where you can't play. So that was definitely an improvement. So maybe they did limit the amount of people
Agreed.
that could be in the overflows. Who knows? So then you set these explosives, and then you end up having to go chase down the ancient Karka, who for some reason is there. I'm not really sure. I wasn't quite following why we were killing that.
The first part of that was weird. It was like, okay, they set explosives. Now go to this other area and chop down this tree and drop it on this big crab.
Well, yeah. So
That
I
appeared
think
out of nowhere.
like was the idea that the ancient Karka was always on the island, and we set the explosives as a trap, and then we were like, okay, now let's lure it to the trap. That's the only thing I can come up
Yeah.
with.
Yeah, that's
that
basically
was
the
That
idea.
was the whole storyline.
Okay. Where was that ancient Karka normally?
Invisible.
Okay, all
Hidden
right.
underground
He
or
was hiding.
something?
Maybe hiding under the tree that we had to chop
Yeah,
down?
maybe.
I don't know.
Under the big tree.
I will say though, that was cool watching like
I think we
the
would've
Char
thought, though.
and the NPCs like cutting down the trees. That was a lot of fun. That was one of the cooler parts.
I missed that part because I didn't know where to go.
Oh, it was just
we
neat.
finally figured out, oh, there's a big thing over here. We'll go this way. But good thing was, to kill that ancient Karka, it took about 2 hours, so I didn't really
Oh, yeah.
miss much by...
On our server, it took
By
3
getting
hours.
there.
It took 3 hours on our server.
Yeah.
At that point, I literally...
And
I-
all the reinforcements.
Oh, God. The reinforce...
Ugh.
Oh, God. But don't
Like
get me
3
wrong.
waves of reinforcements.
It was cool because it was hard. But after the fucking
Yeah.
first hour, you're like... Are we still doing this? Are we still fighting the same wave after wave after wave after wave after wave, the same fucking thing? Like, I get it. I literally at one point walked over to the corner. I went, made myself some fucking dinner. I sat down, looked outside the window a little bit. People watched a little bit. I swear to God, this is not a lie. Fucking walked back about 25 minutes later. We still hadn't gotten past the next phase. And so I was like, all right, I guess I'll join in now. But like, I was so bored with the fact that we were killing the same monsters over and over and over again because the mechanics weren't changing. Phase 1 and Phase 2 were essentially the same except you got mortars. And it was like... So...
And there was only like 4 mortars for 300 people.
Yeah, it was kind of insane. And it took forever. It took forever because you had to kill these monsters twice because of their shells. That was also something I was a little bit disappointed with. I was
That's
expecting something
The
cool.
only thing I hated.
Like, I was expecting a cool mechanic where they had told us that you have to break their outer shells, you have to put on things that make it so you can break their outer shells, you have to, like, drip your weapons and stuff. I don't remember dripping my weapons in anything, and I don't remember doing anything other than killing it twice. I never saw a shell explode. I never saw things come off of him. All I saw was he would turn a little more pink because I guess his skin was showing, or his underarm, or his under bits. He's a crab, so who the fuck knows? And yeah, it was basically you have to kill this thing twice. So instead of it being like a cool mechanic of break its leg and then it falls and break its head and then it dies, it was more like just attack it and kill it twice because it has 2 health bars. And it literally was 2 health bars because you could rally off of killing it the first time just by taking off its armor. So it literally reset the monster. It was like, blink! It was like, rally! And you're like, wait, I didn't kill it. How did I rally? So maybe its armor was like a living, breathing thing. No? Okay.
Yeah, you got
Two
experience
markers
off
on
the
it.
first kill, too. I kept making the mistake that we'd kill the armor, and I'd run up to go get loot, and he'd stomp on me because he was back. I was like, oh. That's the only thing I didn't like about the whole thing. Like, I enjoyed the event, but having to kill the guy twice, like you said, there was no new graphics, there was no shell cracking or leg falling off. It was just, oh, you killed him, all right, we got it, we can go on to, oh, no, we can't, we've got to kill him again. And the only good thing about it was he died quicker the second time.
Yeah.
But
I just, don't get me wrong, for the first hour, I really enjoyed the event. I was like, this is challenging. Finally, we have a Zerg of people here, and it doesn't feel like we're just spamming one. We actually have to use our skills. We have to dodge. We have to get out of here. We have to use the implemented awesome aspect of Guild Wars 2, which is interactive combat. But after an hour of that straight, you start to just like, you get a little loopy, and you're like, man, this better be a good fucking reward while I'm here. You're just like, the only reason I am sticking this out because there better be good loot. And actually, eventually, amazing loot dropped. Holy crap, ArenaNet did not expect you to give us a 20 slot bag, 10 gold right there. B, an exotic trinket, right? So everybody
You could
gets.
still get the trinket from turning in shells if you weren't doing the event.
Oh, okay. So everybody gets those 2 things. Bam, if you did the event. So that's cool. But then on top of that, it would drop 2 exotics, 2 rares, and a blue. So what was really cool about the exotic drops though was that some of the exotics were actually prerequisites for legendaries. So literally they would just be like, boom, here's 1/2 of your legendary. And I believe Miranda got one.
Tooth of Frostfang, yeah.
So Miranda immediately, if she had sold it, was like, bam, look, 200 gold. So that was cool, you know?
No, the price dropped pretty bad. Actually, after the event,
Yeah.
it was, I think it started at like 80 gold and then dropped to like 50 just a couple hours later.
Yeah, well, apparently...
it'll go back up, though. If you still got it, hang on to it for a couple weeks. As
Yeah, it'll go
that
back up.
extra surplus gets out, it'll go right back up there, probably before Christmas.
Well, apparently if you server hopped as well, and you were on a different character, you could do the event twice. So if you just hopped into someone's overflow and you were just there when the Karka died, the ancient Karka, which by the way, that cutscene for the ancient Karka was really cool. I really liked it. It was really cool. They it sunk in. You had to like stomp. That was like the new mechanic. That was cool. Stomp on the ground to break the ground. Everybody jump up and down to break the ground. Karka falls into the fucking lava, and then it jumps back out and like freaks out, and then it like solidifies. It was cool. It was cool as hell. Apparently though, you could like hop on another character, and you could literally just be there for that part, and boom, you get some more exotics. So.
It was worth it altogether.
And another bag.
and even though it screwed up the market.
No, and that's, hey Mike, let's talk market for a second here. The market on exotics right now, and the market for everything, it's including gem prices and stuff. Ever since they implemented exotics and stuff like that dropping more from regular dungeons and chests and stuff, I've noticed that number one, gold price has gone up if you want to buy. Gem price has gone up if you want to buy it with gold, because there's so much more gold out there now. People have a lot more money, and or at least they're using it more now. They're buying things, so it's getting dispersed between the people. And then the price of exotics, after everyone got Amazing Exotics tanked that market last night for at least, I don't know how long it'll last, because obviously, you know, it won't be there forever, but it tanked it for long enough where it gave us a good moment to buy everything we wanted, which was cool. So for like really cheap.
Yeah,
like
I think it's
gold.
great. Because, I mean, you got to figure a good portion of the population went on that event and actually finished it. And there's even the guys and girls that got disconnected and didn't get their loot. ArenaNet's trying to figure out a way to see who that is and get them the loot from the things, the chest. So, yeah, they flooded the market with exotics and precursors. I was reading a couple places that the speculation is 5 to 10% of the population got precursors. So, you know, automatically that's going to be a big drop in prices, which brings the prices down more in tune with people that are not trying to make a lot of money. They're just doing their dailies or their dungeons or whatever's fun for them. So it'll bring it more in tune for them where they can actually get something. Like you said, a lot of the exotics went down below a gold. There's a lot of exotics on there this morning that were 70 silver to a gold 20. And so you could pick up a lot of stuff there, and I think they did that on purpose. I think they did it so that they could bring the market a little bit more in tune, and they also, I think that's also why they did the banning of the real money traders and the bots a week ago, so that they could get more of they could have more control of tuning that market. Also with the commendations, they're trying to get people to have less stuff in their bags and try to use the Mystic Forge. So I like that they're very active in messing with the economy or tweaking it. I mean, messing with it's a bad word. They're actively tweaking it. They're actively trying to make it where the things are more accessible for people and they don't have to have mudflation where all of a sudden having 1 million gold is nothing because it won't buy you anything like Diablo 3 did. Diablo 3's money situation just got out of control because they had no way to take money out of the system if you really wanted to, and with the fact that they could use real money to go back and forth between the gold auction house and the real money auction house on Diablo 3, now everything's super inflated over there. With Guild Wars 2, they want to keep it low so that you don't have to do something that'll earn you 10 gold a day just to get any one item. You can keep it at your, you know, people that make 20 silver on a day and are happy with it, they can feel that they're making progression to where they can buy stuff, and I like it. I think it's good. I mean, you've got to find creative ways to make your gold if you want to focus on that aspect of it, like I like doing. But it just means you got to stay on your toes and you keep finding new markets. So
yeah.
But
is it just me, by the way?
Snap back.
Is it just me, or does it look like Miranda is using this podcast to talk to someone else? She's flirting with a boy right now.
Skills.
That's what's happening. There is a boy somewhere that she is talking to. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sure. Let's go with the boy.
Oh, hey. Oh, look, the viewers just jumped to 20 million. Okay, here we go.
Joking.
So what's his name?
You don't know him.
Well, he's watching, so what's his name? Let's make a shout out while we're doing this. If we're gonna use the podcast as a way to flirt with our boyfriends, then we should at least, say hello.
But it's not my boyfriend.
It's the one on the side.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So if like
Happy rocks. Happy.
Yes.
Wow. She wanted to see the crane.
Well, tell her, Rux, go. You were supposed to be on this podcast, Rux. You whore. She's been in chat the whole time, and she's like, I can't make this podcast. I'm going to a special edition of Goonies with my friends. And then she's like, hey, what are you guys doing? What are you guys doing? What are you guys doing?
Slacker.
Yep, that's right. Go see it so that you stop distracting one of our podcasters to make you cranes out of bubblegum raptors. Jesus Christ.
Hey, it's pretty blue. See, pretty blue. It's that purple
Podcast
too.
20, origami lesson.
Yeah, podcast 20. How to make origami and totally use the podcast as a different method of communication. Wow, awesome. I am not editing this out. This is staying. This is awesome. But yeah, so I mean, the event overall was pretty cool. I know a lot of people were freaked out about Ascension items. Wasn't there something about what the hell was it called? Hold on. There was something
Infusions?
about infusions. Where did that go? Did it ever happen?
It's there.
Yeah, it's still there. You can make most.
Yeah, I was going to say, didn't Miranda
they
find a
introduced
thing about it?
Ring and 2 back items. You can get a quiver or a book. The book's defensive, the quiver's offensive, and I think you make them via Mystic Forge. So you make them, and they can correspond to some certain stat. I mean, I'm not sure, and then you can upgrade it with the infusion. And I think after you get past level 9 in fractals, you have a chance of actually getting the ring from the daily chest. Like, if you do fractals daily, they'll give you a chest. And after you pass the 9th difficulty, you get a chance of a ring. But after you pass the 9th difficulty, they introduce that new mechanic. I think it's Agony, where it'll take away your health every second or something. Like, I haven't actually been to the 9th fractal yet. They go in tiers, so you have your first, and then you have your second, and the first is 1 to 9. The second would be 10 to 19. And after those, like, every 10 or 9, they increase 10. It's 10. And, like, harder. If that makes sense.
Yep.
There.
Yeah, because I was wondering what was going on with the
Agony.
did post... I didn't see it yet. I only got up to level 3 on the fractals.
Yeah, Agony, the bosses start inflicting Agony on you at 10, so.
Ah, interesting.
And I don't know what it is, but the first infusion that we have, like, they'll do, I think it's 8% of your health at first, and if you get the infusion with the Agony resistance, it takes it down to 4 or something. It's half of what it was. So the infusion actually helps a lot with the Agony, from what I've read.
Well, that's good to know. So there you go. That's what Agony is, and that's what infusion is for. So what did you guys think of the fractals? Because the Lost Shore, we kind of went over it. It was a cool event. Some fuck-ups. Some weird mechanics. Good loot. Will we ever go to the Lost Shore again? That is the real question, if you ask me. I was really looking forward to a new zone that you could, like, explore from fucking start to finish. You know, like, when you ended up on the Cursed Shore, it's basically just the Cursed Shore again, except you like, got walked through it. I'd like a new zone to, like, explore. That's what I thought this was going to be, but I don't know. It doesn't seem to be that way anymore. Anyway.
Yeah, me too.
The fractals. Let's talk about the fractals. Oh, hi, puppy. Oh, bye, puppy.
She decided to see what was going on.
Is she not fighting your cat this podcast?
No, she's leaving the cat alone for now. But she's also bugging the girlfriend a lot because the girlfriend's home from work now. So, I think the only thing left with the Lost Shore now is it's dynamic events. It's another level 80 area so that the Cursed Shore is not as heavily populated, and you could go do basically the same type of farming, just slightly different stuff you're farming for in the Lost Shore versus the Cursed Shore. And that just has to do with the gathering stuff, but the dynamic events are going to be the same as what you're doing in the Lost Shore. So that's really the only thing left over there as far as I can see. It's just another place to farm dynamic events and get more of the tier 6 crafting materials, which they're finding more uses for. The crafting things that they brought in use a lot of that stuff. A lot of the ascended gear and the infusions use heavy amounts of tier 6 fine crafting materials. So there's that. But onto the fractals. I liked it. I haven't done a whole lot of it, and it may have been just because it was the first weekend, but I've found people in the pugs are actually pretty good about not being douchebags and just like, oh, I don't like this one, I'll quit. They're actually trying to get it done and trying to progress. And it might be because they're, mini dungeons and they're pretty quick, so you're not like, crap, I got people that are bad, so I'm not even going to waste my time here. They think, oh, it's really short, so we can go. But I think some of the dungeons in there are gorgeous. I think they're fun. I like it.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed
Saw
that. Shut up! I was playing with that. John?
Yeah, so I haven't done too much yet. Hopefully do some more tonight. I think we only did a bunch of level 1 stuff with people who weren't in there. But so far it's really cool. Like Tig said, it's short, and obviously the randomness of it is pretty cool. I mean, obviously you'll memorize all of them once you start doing them a lot, but you never know what you're really going to get, which is pretty cool. And some of the scenery in there is quite awesome. And there's some nifty new ways they spruced up different fights and whatnot, and things you got to do on the way through there. So I'm looking forward to progressing through the different difficulty levels, though, because I think that'll be interesting to see how they ramp it up in difficulty and what they use in terms of doing that. But overall, it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, that's kind of what I felt. I just
really
enjoyed
like
going to them. Go ahead, Miranda.
Puzzle boss fights. The puzzle boss fights where you actually have to do something specific, those are kind of fun. I don't like. There's this one where we had dump oil on the boss to kill him, which was kind of cool. So we had to work around that.
Yeah, I like those are my favorite types of dungeons. To be honest, I think they definitely listened when we said, "Hey, we want a dungeon where we have to do stuff like AC story mode." When we first played it, that feeling of, turn off the traps and do that stuff. They definitely gave us a lot more of that, where it was interaction with the world and the bosses. So the only way to kill the bosses was interaction with the world, but you could also do DPS for people that just like to do that. So they definitely made a nice balance of that. Although, could you cut down on the tripwires just a little bit in that one dungeon? Oh my god, I face planted so many times. Oh my god.
The one with the hammer?
Yeah, no, with the 3 turn-ins, the 3.
I didn't do that one.
I don't think I've done that one yet.
It opens up like a magical forest, and you have to turn in these things. It's really cool. It's very awesome watching it. But God, you fall on your face a lot. So.
Well, I was getting that with the one with the hammer because they have spikes coming out of the ground, and the spike traps are almost invisible on that cobblestone.
Yeah, they're hard to see.
I finally got to the point. Yeah, I finally got to the point where if I put my camera at the right angle, you can see that it's raised up by half an inch, in character height. So you're like, oh, I can go around those squares and probably not get hit, but otherwise it's just memorizing where to run.
That was a ton of fun, though.
Yeah,
I enjoyed
every
aspect of that. You had to figure out how, as a group, to make this happen. The hammer debuffed you, so not one person could just do everything. You had to split it around your group,
right.
And so you really were relying on your group a lot for all the stuff, and it felt very rewarding to solve puzzles and then have those puzzles reward you back. So I definitely love the way they did the new Fractals dungeon, and I'm looking forward to progressing through that more. I think I got up to level 3, and then if you're listening, you bastards, can you make it so we can get back in if we crash, please? That would be awesome. That would be really awesome.
Yeah, it would be.
That screwed me so hard.
Yeah.
On the we were doing the hammer one, and we got all the way to the top where you had to split up and protect the seals, and you had to run back and forth, and we got down to the very last hit of the hammer for the whole dungeon, and the guy that had the hammer disconnected and took the hammer with him. So there was no way for us to finish it, and then I found out later that, if the other 4 of us died, it would reset the hammer, but then we would have had to go through and do the whole split-up thing again, and it took us 20 minutes to get to where we were at that point, and we're like, screw that. So we all just stepped out,
I was on the
But
last part of one of the dungeons, like of 3. Like we were on the last part of the 3rd one, and my client crashed, and it fucked the whole group because unfortunately it was one of those ones where you needed all 5 people to actually beat the end, and so we all had to stop, and that sucked because we were actually helping someone that was lower level go through it, and so she never actually got to complete level 1 because of a crash, and it was like, oh come on. So, just
and
some
what's
way to
even
get back
worse
in.
is if the party leader crashes and leaves, you all get booted no matter, just automatically, because there's a new. What's that?
They really can't do anything. Like, if you disconnect, you can't really get back in, because if you disconnect, then you can go repair your armor and then get back in, which is defeating the purpose of that whole dungeon, is to be able to do 3 consecutive things without, like, needing an armor repair or something like that. Like, that's what
Yeah, but there's got to be a way for them to work that up so that they can port you back in there somehow. Like right when you log back in, it just ports you before you have a chance to do anything else. I mean, because that's really annoying.
I guess,
We lost someone at the beginning of our first set of 3. One of our members from Russia, obviously, so her connection's a little sketchy, and we were able to 4-man the 3 that we got, so we were lucky they weren't crazy. But that's, right at the beginning of the first of 3, and we lost her, and she couldn't get back in, so, like, she had to go do something else. It's it's really annoying. It's not kind of annoying, it's really annoying.
I agree it's annoying. They just, I don't know, they can't necessarily do something unless they make it so you can't go back to Lion's Arch. So if you sign in, you automatically
they just need to fix the disconnect
there,
problem. So when you disconnect, you get logged back into the dungeon.
Right.
I mean, you're in a group.
They
can assign an ID to you and your group. Just make it so that you log back into the dungeon. I mean, I'm sure there's some sort of an exploit that they don't want you to do because of that, but it would just be nice to be able to get back with your group.
Well, I think part of it is tied to the other change they made to dungeons on this patch, which is if you leave the group, if you're the leader of the group and you either kick somebody or you leave so that you can get through most of it and bring in your friends and then basically screw over the pugs, they've built it so everybody gets booted, and that's part of it. And there's been a lot of complaints about people either leaving towards the end of it to grief the other people or to get friends in, and I think they're trying to combat that, and I think it happened at the same time that they put this dungeon in that's got issues and it's got people that are going to want to leave. So I think those are 2 worlds colliding right there that maybe they'll fix, maybe they'll get under control, but it might be a matter of we might have to be vocal with ArenaNet as a group of players to get that fixed, where in that one dungeon you can come back in and get logged right back in or something. I don't know.
Apparently someone on the Twitch said that in PvP, if you leave a tournament from a disconnect, as soon as you reconnect, you're automatically joined back into the match before you can do anything else. So they've solved it there. Now they just need to solve it on the dungeons. So, but anyway, overall, I think the Lost Shores was a good content patch. I think there's definitely some lessons to be learned here, though, in terms of grouping, making it so that when the event kicks off, you don't feel as though you're just stuck in a lag hole, and making it so that they did make it so that you didn't feel zerged in the 3rd part. Like it wasn't too easy. But if it's not going to be too easy, don't make it last 5 hours. Or if it's going to last 5 hours, make each phase very much different so that it's more enjoyable to stay there instead of just being like, I want the loot. Because for the first part of it, I wasn't even thinking about loot. I was just like, ooh, this is cool. We're progressing story. I like this. This is fun. But then when it started to get repetitive, I was like, all right, so I hope I'm getting something cool from this. So that's my only thought. Anybody else have anything else to add about the Lost Shores that they were thinking about?
The only thing I was thinking about was, in general terms, I don't know that ArenaNet expected this game to be as big as it turned out to be. Everybody says, oh, the next game is going to be a WoW killer and all that stuff. But this game really took a chunk of players, and I don't know if it took it from WoW, but this is the first MMO in a while that's really just day one got a couple million subscribers, and I don't know that they were prepared for that much, and I think they've done a great job with it. If you look at what happened with WoW in the first couple months, It was a mess.
Yeah.
It was way worse than this. And if we're just complaining about the fact that, I couldn't see some mobs a couple times when I was trying to kill them, but I still got kill credit, and I still got the loot, but they just randomly killed me every once in a while compared to what a lot of the other big games that come out, disconnects and servers down and all that other stuff, they've been doing great, and they're putting out lots of content. They're doing patches and new stuff every month, whether or not it's a big patch like this or it's just quick fixes. They're staying on top of the economy, which is a big thing for a lot of people. I think they're doing great. It's all the stuff that we get in there and we get upset about seems like small potatoes to me. And yes, it's upsetting because we're at a certain point and not even comparing it to another game, but we compare Guild Wars 2 to Guild Wars 2 and we see things that fall down a little bit and we're like, I wish that didn't happen. I wish this would be better. But I think they're on top of it. I think they're doing awesome.
No, I definitely, for people that are watching and they think that we get down, we're talking about stuff that we've experienced, and we're talking about the experience and not the big picture as a whole. We're talking about these moments in time. I think in general, we definitely, all of us here enjoy playing the game. We wouldn't be doing a Guild Wars 2 podcast if we didn't enjoy playing the game. And if we didn't have faith in ArenaNet, I don't think we would be doing a podcast either, because that would give them promotion, and why would we want to do that? But I think they have a great game. I think they're on top of it. I think they were on top of it with Guild Wars 1 as well, and they always listened to what people had to say. And to be honest, like, the feel of the game, the way that the game runs and plays, that's what's important. And that game it's got that core groundwork implemented, which not a lot of games have been able to focus on that haven't like copied other MMOs. They've made something unique and they've made it smooth and feel like an Apple product. You know what I mean? It just works, bam. And so it's nice to log in, and so all I can see is them increasing or incrementally getting better from here on. So it is nice to see the content and stuff like that, and I do think they learn from each event. So I mean, even during this event, as it was happening, I think they might have decreased overflow server population for the last part of the event, because in the beginning it was horrible, and then at the second part the third part it was okay. So it almost seems like they listened like immediately and fixed it. So it's good stuff. But yeah, so I don't think there's anything else here. But that is our podcast about the Lost Shores, the content that they've implemented and what we think about it. Make sure to tune in every Monday at 5:15 p.m. Eastern for us live at alttabme.com/live, or you can go to alttabme.com and check out the podcast published every Wednesday to YouTube. Other than that, check out our website. We're implementing some new cool features. We got the war, we've got the rants, we've got all sorts of really cool interactive stuff. We've even got ways for you to express your feelings now. You can say what mood you're in. It's crazy. We're live journaling this shit up. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, if anybody wants to help out with programming or design, feel free to hit us up. Message Triage, TR1AGE, on the forums, and we would be glad to have your help. So tune in next time. Until then, we will see you next time.